welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Mawdryn Undead, written by Peter Grimwood and is directed by Peter Moffat. This would be the third story in season 20, a season which is all about bringing back recurring elements from the Doctor Who mythos. And it is also the first story in the Black Guardian trilogy, a sequel to the Key to Time season, in which the Black Guardian finally catches up with the Doctor. The story is also remarkable for a few occasions. For one, it brings back Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge Stewart, now a school teacher, and also sees the first appearance of Turlough, played by Mark Strickson. So this story has a lot of elements, and if this story falls flat, it would have been a huge disservice to the franchise. So it is great pleasure for me to say that this story is fan-bloody-tastic. We have these two stories setting up at the start of the story, and we don't really know how they're connected. We see this boy Turlough with his friend. I believe he calls him Hippo. It's presumably a nickname. I can't remember if they state his real name. I think they do, actually, come to think about it. And they steal one of the teacher's cars, and one of them, and Turlough, Turlough bribes Hippo. He convinces him, and Turlough drives the car, and it's pretty ridiculous. He says to his friend that he's only going to drive up to the gates of the school, but when he gets to the gates, he starts driving faster and faster on the wrong side of the road into coming traffic and crashes the car. And what he sees is basically some sort of afterlife where he is greeted by the Black Guardian, to which states you will be like a servant to him, as he is his guardian in all things. The Guardian, played by, I believe his name is Valentine Duell, I believe his name is. That fantastic voice. It's the same actor who played the Black Guardian right at the very end of the Armageddon Factor. So to have him return, and this time in a prominent role in not one, not two, but 3 stories back to back, really emphasizes his demeanor. But anyway, he asks Turlough that he can get him off Earth. Now it's here that we kind of find out a little bit about Turlough, that he doesn't seem to be from Earth. He states Earth like he doesn't like Earth, as if Earth is something that he's not really a part of, and he wants to get off. And the Black Guardian offers him to help him leave if only he kills the Doctor. And Turlough's like, I don't know about murder. And the Black Guardian's like, okay, but you'll be stuck on Earth forever. And with that, he tempts Turlough to go on basically an assassination plot. Now, for an introduction to a companion, this is a very unique situation. It's one of the first companions which had a real goal in mind, rather than just to replace the last companion, or to set up, or just to have a new recurring character for marketing. This is one of the few characters in which the story really has him have a motive, having a part in the plot, to which he is basically this, he's like a henchman to the villain. So he's probably one of the few henchmen, one of the few villains and companions in the show, which is really cool. I must state though, when I was a kid and I used to watch classic Doctor Who before 2005, I used to hate Turlough. He used to do my absolute head, and I don't know why. I just thought he was annoying, and I used to find a lot of his scenes where he used to whine a lot. Maybe that's more down the line, but in here he actually does a pretty good job in the story. whilst this is happening, the Doctor gets sent off course and lands on like a cruise ship which seems to be abandoned, and they also find a teleporting device which leads straight to Earth, and they discover that it was last used in 1977, and the Doctor realises that something's wrong with it, with the teleportation, and when it brings it back to Earth, a part of it is messed up with the time coordination, which means that it's stopping the TARDIS from dematerialising. So the Doctor comes up with this plan on he will take the TARDIS and before this, Turlough finds the teleporting device, and he actually goes onto the ship, to which he gets introduced to the Doctor, and Turlough gets introduced to Tegan and Nessa. And I really love this dynamic because Tegan and Nessa don't really trust Turlough that well, because he seems a bit off. They first meet him in the TARDIS, in which he just walked in, and the Doctor he explains to the Doctor that he's not from Earth, but he's he doesn't say he's not or he is from Earth. He just says that where he came from was Earth to this point. And so the Doctor comes up with this plan that to get the TARDIS working, he's going to send Tegan and Nessa in the TARDIS by themselves, and will land on Earth in, I believe they said 1983. I could be wrong. And they'll take the teleporting device and land on the same place. But something goes awry as when the Doctor mucks around with the teleportation unit, something goes wrong with the TARDIS as it dematerializes on the place and then it disappears again. Turlough, seeming an opportunity, picks up a stone behind the Doctor and slowly raises his arms, and that's the cliffhanger for part 1. Great, absolutely great cliffhanger. Well done. So now would be a perfect time to talk about Peter Moffat's directing. Wow, does this story look good. From the scenery at the posh school to the small little area in which the TARDIS and these teleporting devices appear from, to the absolutely gorgeous looking ship. This story just screams at you at just how amazing it looks. And if we're talking about the stylistics of the story, it'll be a disservice if we don't mention the fantastic music by Patty Kingsland. He gives the soundtrack in this story much more double guitar than most of the synthetic style that was a huge influence in the 80s of Doctor Who. Here it's a much more, a bit more rocky to what you're usually used to when it comes to Fifth Doctor stories. And it gives this story one hell of an impact. It's also important to note that Peter Grimwood, this is his second writing credit. The first being Time Flight, which was known to be not particularly good. It wasn't particularly great. I think we all can agree in terms of writing, it wasn't the strongest. But I don't know how he did it, but he brought us a fantastic script here. It plays with time traveling. There's a great story about morality through later off in the story, and it's just a fantastic piece. But anyway, back into the story. So we soon learn that Tegan and Nessa are actually trapped in the year 1977. And it's at this point, in terms of what we see, they both the Doctor and Turlough and Tegan get introduced to, or should I say reintroduced to Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge Stewart. In terms of Tegan's time in 1977, he seems to have just retired. He has just gone working for a school. whilst in Turlough's time, he's actually the teacher that Turlough broke the car of. It's Turlough. It's the car that the Brigadier owned that Turlough destroyed, and you can see there's a bit of a conflict there. And when you see Peter Davison looking at the Brigadier, and his face is just full of delight, fantastic. And Nicholas Courtney has just not lost 1 ounce of what makes him so charming in terms of his role. Sure, he might be a bit slower than he used to. He's a bit more, I don't want to say chubby, but he's definitely a lot older in this story. But his acting is still perfect. And a fun fact, originally this was going to be Ian Chesterton returning, and that's why we have the teacher role. But William Russell was actually busy doing something else, and they couldn't have him. The second idea was actually to have Harry Sullivan return, but Ian Martin, he was too busy as well. So they had Nicholas Courtney, which was their third choice, which explains the kind of strange retirement choice of him working at a school. But I think it does actually really work. I mean, he still gets the boss of people around. It's just instead of soldiers, it's more piney little teenagers. And the older Brigadier doesn't seem to remember the Doctor. When the Doctor mentions he is the Doctor, and mentions that, what if I told you I was looking for my TARDIS, the Brigadier actually has no memory of what he's on about. But the younger Brigadier actually does remember, as when Tegan accidentally drops the word TARDIS, the younger Brigadier's like, what? I think I know what you're on about. Is your friend who's injured just so happens to be named the Doctor? I forgot to backtrack a bit. Tegan and Nessa, they find the teleporting device that's there. But when they go in it, they find a heavily burnt man who they believe is the Doctor who had regenerated. And so they take this person into the TARDIS whilst Tegan goes looking for help, which is how she bumps into the Brigadier. So the Doctor mentions unit to Brigadier, and Brigadier getting a bit tense because unit's supposed to be a top secret organisation, and surely you should have signed the Secrecy Act. So the Doctor and the Brigadier go to his cabin, which is like a small little hut outside of the school. The Doctor first thinking that this might be a disguise of somewhat, but it turns out that he is actually working there, and that and then the Doctor's trying to retrace the Brigadier's memory. It's also here that we learn that in the past, some time ago, the Brigadier had some sort of mental breakdown, and you can kind of see it in Nicholas Courtney's performance as he starts getting a bit more tense. And when the Doctor thinks that the Brigadier might be suffering from some sort of amnesia, the Brigadier starts getting really tense and is like, "No, Doctor, you've been talking behind my back. I'm as fit as a fiddle." And yeah, we get this really sad moment, and we get this really lovely scene in which the Doctor's trying to bring the Brigadier's memories back by just talking about people that they've met. And it's a great moment where we're like, the Brigadier, they first mentioned about Mike Yates and Benton, and nothing seems to be triggering off. But when he mentions Jo, when he mentions Sarah Jane, when he mentions Liz Shaw, something clicks in the Brigadier, and he sits down, and we get this really great music. Like I said, Kingsland is just a fantastic composer here. And we get some flashbacks, some stock footage of previous story as he remembers everything. And we got some like a really like low intense music playing of the Doctor Who theme. So that's really cool. And I really liked how they matched up the old Brigadier's face to the young one. A clip which I believe is from the Three Doctors, because that's the only one I can think of where he appears in the TARDIS. But anyway, I really do like that scene. But when Tegan and Nessa and the younger Brigadier go into the TARDIS, they see that the man has he's healed his wounds a bit, and he's got like a silly looking brain thing poking out. It's also cool to note that he's wearing the Fourth Doctor's coat that was seen in season 18. So that's really fun for Doctor Who fans. And this creature, he kind of he pretends he's the Doctor, and he asks Nessa to take the TARDIS back to the spaceship because it might have some equipment there. And Tegan, she feels something is off. She's like, you might not be the Doctor. Last time the Doctor regenerated, it was nothing like this. And the Brigadier's actually in the TARDIS with them. And so, after some sort of debate, they do actually take him back to the ship. And it's here that the Doctor takes the Brigadier and Turlough into the TARDIS to try and travel back to the ship to 1977 for when the TARDIS team all arrive, and the Doctor asks the Brigadier, does he remember going in the TARDIS? To which the Brigadier is like, I don't think so, I don't remember getting in the TARDIS. And the Doctor's like, good. So we have these two plot lines that are going side by side, and there's a lot going on, and it does a great job of balancing each of the characters. As we got the two Brigadiers, we have Turlough with this whole, he gets tricked by the Black Guardian. He has a sort of crystal which he uses to communicate with the Black Guardian, and there's some great scenes in which he talks to him. One of my favourites is when he's talking to his headmaster about everything, and the headmaster doesn't seem to be at least bit concerned, and is like, do you feel like you've done your side of the bargain? Well, you should to make you feel more complete, maybe you should go and kill the Doctor. And Turlough's like, no, the Doctor's a really good guy, so I'm not going to go through with it. And he's like, are you sure? Yes. And then the headmaster turns into the Black Guardian and is like, watching or sleeping, waking or sleeping, I know where you are. You cannot escape from me. And so Turlough is it shows that he's got a good heart, but he's also a bit of a coward. And so he's conflicted on whether to hurt the Doctor because he really wants to get off Earth. And he's really terrified of the Black Guardian, or whether to keep him alive because the Doctor seems like such a nice person, which is just the effect that Peter Davison has on people, that you want to be good when you're in his presence. It's also here that we learn that the Tegan and Nessa, it's not the Doctor, but rather Mawdryn, a being that was who tried to make himself a Time Lord along with his friends, but something went wrong and they can now never die. They're immortal, and they have some sort of mutation, so they've basically been in agony for millions upon millions of years. And they keep talking about the end. Their end is near, and they want this end to happen. And one of the cliffhangers is actually the Doctor finding a piece of stolen Gallifreyan technology, and these creatures, these people, put themselves in a thing, and they're like, "Help us, Doctor! We need your help." And the Doctor's like, "I can't. There's 8 of you, and a Time Lord has 12 regenerations, and I've already used up 5. If I use my remaining regenerations to complete your deaths, then I would be giving up the right of a Time Lord. I'll be giving up it'll be my end of a Time Lord." And that's actually one of the cliffhangers, which actually really works, but also brings up a very controversial point to Doctor Who, especially classic Doctor Who, in which anytime the Doctor's in danger, he will always just regenerate, so he's not really in danger. So any story previous or after this in which the Doctor's life is threatened, he's not really threatened to death, he's more threatened on becoming Colin Baker. So, yeah. And let's talk about Mawdryn. He's a very unique villain. We don't really know that he is the villain until part 3, maybe the end of part 4. You really sympathise with him, and he's not really a particular bad guy, as he tries his best to try and come with some sort of a solution to his problem, but he can't, and he asks for the Doctor's help. He's asking for the Doctor's help, only the Doctor refuses, and he gets a bit desperate, so he keeps a sort of factor hidden from the Doctor, as when the Doctor tries to take Tegan and Nessa away from their ship, they seem to age, and when they go back, using the reversal polarity of the neutron flow, which gets a mention here, they actually turn into little kids. Now, when I grew up watching this as a kid, that scene when you see them as old people and they get infected is absolutely horrifying. To see these just 2 innocent characters just tortured like that. And it's soon revealed that there's some sort of mutation has affected them, and that the only cure is for the Doctor to give up his regenerations, to have some sort of energy that will disperse, and Tegan and Nessa will be cured. But it's also around here that the younger Brigadier is walking around the ship as he went with the TARDIS crew. The majority of this story then has the Doctor and the rest of the TARDIS team trying to separate the Brigadiers as much as possible. Turlough actually traps the Brigadier in one room, as he tells, as the Black Guardian asks him, because if the 2 Brigadiers meet, their plans are ruined. So Turlough is actually helping both parties by keeping the Brigadiers away. However, he fails as the Brigadier, the younger one, finds out a way through the door, and he hears the older Brigadier count down before the Doctor uses this machine to take his regenerations and give it to the Mawdryn and his people. And just before the point of the conversion, the younger Brigadier actually appears, and the 2 Brigadiers touch, and it has the effect, which I can't remember what it's called, the Bevelation effect, I believe it's something like that. And what this does is, because it's 2 points of a different person in their timeline, it shortens out the time differential, which means that a colossal explosion of energy occurs, and instead of the Doctor needing to sacrifice his regenerations, this blast of energy affects them, and not only does it cure Tegan and Nessa, but it also cures the Mawdryn's people for immortality, and so it allows them to die. And there's a really sweet moment. One of my favourite little moments in this story is which the Doctor's kind of like, yes, right, come on, let's go, let's separate the two brigadiers, and he's just like having his like doctory moment where he's getting really hyper as he's like, yes, I defeated, we've won, we've saved the day. And Tegan just calmly, slowly talks to the Doctor's like, Doctor, I just want to say thank you. You were going to give up your life just to save me and Tegan. I can't thank you enough. And then the scene just like plays on the rest of it. As the Doctor brings the two brigadiers back to their own time. And I really love that short moment. That's one of my favourite scenes. And that's Mawdryn Undead. Overall, it is a fantastic piece of Doctor Who. It's one of my favourite Fifth Doctor stories. It has a lot going on, but it's paced so well that you don't really notice it. And there's a lot of elements that keeps you engaged, but it doesn't feel like you're overfilling. It's a great start to the Black Guardian trilogy. It's a great start for Mark Strutzen's Turlough, and overall it's just a great piece of story. Highly recommended, Mawdryn Undead. So join me next time where we go onto I believe it's an abandoned ship where there's loads of ill people, I think. I can't really remember much about it. So join me next time for Torturous. See you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!